The film begins with a boy named Yu who is traveling on a train where the lights are turned off when a black shadow appears and attacks him after knocking him down on the train's floor. The film then shifts to the next scene, where Yu awakens, revealing that whatever happened was a nightmare in which Yu was killed by a horrific shadow. In this scene, Yu's real identity is revealed. He is a good writer with a variety of skills, but he lacks ideas, and most people avoid approaching him as a result. He is unable to earn a living. He doesn't have money, and in the meantime, he's taken out loans from other people, and he's depressed as a result. Yu likes a girl named Hua who works in a cafe, and later on, we see Yu in a cafe with a friend discussing his sleeplessness due to insomnia. He adds that this is a disease in which I tried everything I could to sleep, but couldn't, and why Yu claims that anytime he tries to sleep, he is attacked by a dangerous black shadow that tortures him but does not kill him. In the meantime, I wake up and am quite upset. He claims that he has expressed his concerns with a number of doctors, but that no one has given him any therapy and that no one has given him any solutions. His friend reacts angrily, telling him to forget about it and perform whatever I have assigned you, and you only have 1 week, but Yu was unable to do so, and as a result, he now lives in a rented flat, where he was unable to pay the rent this month, and as a result, he has been removed. Later, he realizes that he needs to do something to survive, so he takes a job in a cafe and begins working on his laptop, but he becomes asleep and in his dream. The shadow attacks and murders him, causing him to become terrified and wake up. This life frustrates and depresses him. He claims that he is fed up because he has no house, money, or not even the ability to sleep, so he will commit suicide. He is prepared to commit suicide because he does not want to die over and over, and he is about to jump from the floor, but an old man intervenes and stops him. The old man also feeds him, and he is the same man from Yu who buys pancakes every day. Yu eats the meals that the old man has given him, despite the fact that it appears that he hasn't eaten in days, and he tells the old man about his problems. That old man reassures him, telling him that if he sees that shadow in his dream, he should simply tell him, "I'm dreaming," and he'll see that he has control over it. Later, Yu leaves and meets Hua, the girl he likes, but she transforms into a shadow and begins to push a sword into his chest, causing Yu to exclaim, "I'm dreaming," before waking up. Here, the shocking thing is that whatever sword he saw in his dream was in his hands, and Yu was shocked as he watched. He now recognizes that he has awoken from his dream and is now in the real world, where he is learning to distinguish between dream and reality. After noticing that sword with close attention, he finds it pretty unique, which is why he immediately runs into an antique shop that sells unique and ancient items. Knowing that this sword is quite unique and expensive, and he will receive a large sum of money as a reward. He eats fine meals, stays in hotels, and even buys a laptop. He enjoys his life and believes he saw the sword in his dream, but he has brought it from dream to reality. He learns that he can bring anything from his dream into reality, that he has power, and that this makes him happy. He sleeps with the intention of waking up and taking anything he sees in his dreams into the real world, which I would sell in order to progressively improve my situation. When he goes to sleep, he sees the shadow again, and this time he is attacked by a unique axe, but Yu wakes up with that antique axe, which he immediately sells at an antique shop. He received a large sum of money in comparison to previous occasions, and he is overjoyed to get it. His life is transformed in a matter of days. He believes he would do the same, and he now believes that his dreams are his strength, not his weakness, which is why it is said to find positivity in everything. Now, Yu buys a book with photographs of a museum in it, and he keeps seeing those and those ancient objects in it. So he could see them in his dreams as well, and tonight he could transfer even more antique things from his dreams into reality. As a result, when he sleeps, he finds those things and is delighted. However, the shadow kills him this time, and he wakes up. Even so, Yu takes sleeping pills and sleeps again. This time, when the shadow strikes him, he pulls out numerous precious objects and returns to the actual world. Later, when he goes to that antique shop to sell these things, a gangster notes down his activities this time, wondering where he could get these valuable antiques, and he asks Yu a lot of questions, but Yu doesn't react and leaves. After a few days, Yu's friend visits him at his home and says, "Great Yu, you're doing so well," and asks him to please keep him in place with his work. Yu does not react. Now we find Hua selling her cafe because she needs money, but before she sells, Yu appears and buys her cafe from her, and both talk to each other as they have begun to meet since Yu's personality has changed entirely because he takes care of himself and is always well dressed. Meanwhile, Yu notices the old man from whom he purchased pancakes, and Yu keeps a money bag in his shop under the table, and the old man is pretty pleased to find that much money in his bag. Yu watches his dreams every day, and he sells and buys precious objects daily. In fact, his dreams are helping him because he has become a bilinear, and he can now fight back with that shadow in his dream. Observing his friend's reaction, he exclaims, "Excellent one, because I know my friend has a huge heart. My champion and his friend recommended that you build a building bigger than Burj Khalifa and use it to house poor people, and Yu answers that why not, it's a good idea." One night, Yu has a dream in which he sees that shadow wearing a gold belt, but as soon as Yu touches it, his hands begin to burn. Despite this, Yu manages to take the belt home, and while Yu was removing the belt from the shadow painted some marks on his body with his fingers that Yu ignores. When Yu returns home, he is hit in the chest by a sword in the same place where the shadow made those marks. One day, Yu sees in his dreams that he has built the Burj Khalifa, and when he visits the building's rooftop, he sees the face of the shadow for the first time, and it is none other than Yu himself, who has the same scare on his face that the shadow has painted. Later, Yu notices numerous scars on his face and considers them as he walks down the street. But in the meantime, a gang of gangsters kidnaps him. When Yu arrives, the gangster demands $10 million, which is sent to them by Yu's friend. And when the gangster receives the money, they kidnap Yu's friend as well. Later, we find them at Yu's house, and in the meantime, Yu arrives and they kidnap her as well. The gangster orders to kill them all, but Yu's friend begins to fight, and Yu stands up as well. However, a man attacks Yu and stabs a knife into Yu's back, and as a result, Yu becomes injured. Yu rushes to take Hua and comes out, but the gangsters catch him stabbing at his leg and then stabbing at his chest till he feels weak, and Hua is also injured in this attack. When Yu passes out, he enters the world of dreams, where he sees the shadow and has old visions, and a glass wall appears in front of him with Hua sitting on the other side. He attempts but fails to break the wall, and he notices that he has changed into that thing, the shadow that appears in his dreams, meaning that the shadow is no one else but himself who has grown stronger and has broken the wall. He murders everyone inside except the gangster, who, before dying, shoots Hua. A bullet hits her arms because she was already hurt, and she dies as a result. When the shadow moves forward, we see the real Yu lying on the floor, whom the shadow shoots, and following Yu's death, all of the antique stuff disappear as well, and the scene ends here. Later on, we see Yu at a store, holding a sword, and he recognizes that he has had a big dream, and it's possible that it was because of his dream, but he doesn't know where he acquired this weapon. While he is thinking, Hua, a girl who works at a cafe, walks up to him and brings him to her cafe, where she serves him a hot dinner and offers him a job. Yu gladly accepts the job, and he quickly finds himself financially secure. He returns to scriptwriting, and his scripts begin to sell well. After taking, Yu encounters an old man who offers him the same bag Yu gave him and tells him, "I know everything, and this is your money. I have passed from all of this whatever you have done, and I have also put my life on the line for money." Yu does not believe in all of this, and he again reaches a point where he is unable to distinguish between dream and reality. Later, when Hua, the cafe girl, meets Yu, the shadow notices them. This implies that the shadow also exists in the actual world, and no one knows what he has to do with them. Thus, the film ends here.